Good morning, everybody. My name is Rachel, and I am the host for this week's FischBooks Friday. We have a very special guest with us today. Oh, sorry, first of all, so this is me, this is Rachel. You guys have lots of ways that you can connect with me, and I encourage you guys to do that. One of the things that I'm most proud of is a Facebook group, QB-HQ, which you can find in Facebook. We actually have over 430 members now, which is awesome. So thank you guys all so much for joining that community, and it's been a really great resources to Canadian ProAdvisors all over. So I thank you guys for that. For today's, this is unfortunately the only picture that I have. This is it. This is a picture of Loni and I back from Thrive in Toronto back in November 2015. And it sucks, but this is all I've got. So I wanted to introduce, not only have Loni as my very special guest, I rely on her heavily, but also to introduce her to you guys and some of the people that are at Intuit, kind of working behind the scenes to get some of our conversion issues and app integrations kind of solved for us and our clients. Her official title is Implementation Specialist. She can maybe tell you a little bit more about what that is like. So I'm going to go ahead and, oops, sorry, that's a sneak peek of next week. So I'm going to go ahead and pass things off to Loni. And some of the things, Loni, that I'd like to see if we could maybe talk about today is kind of some of those trickier conversions. Like, do you find, for example, that either maybe there's bad information out there, that you find the same kind of errors or miscommunication kind of getting out there in the in the conversion world. Also, as ProAdvisors, like, what are some of the surefire ways that we can do as much as we can to ensure a smooth conversion? And then the same thing with an app integration. So what are some of the things that we can look for to really make sure that this process is as smooth and streamlined as possible? So if you want to go ahead and share your screen,
Will do.
And you can take over from there. Thanks.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I think some of you know me via being inside the Implementation Specialist program, or just, again, we speaking on the phone, getting to kind of know one another. I am really excited to actually be a panelist here with Rachel, because I'm a big fan of hers. So being able to help her out, and she's been able to help me out in a lot of things. This is just quid pro quo for both of us, being able to work with one another. So as Rachel was stating, I am an implementation specialist, and that kind of highlights a lot of different things within the actual role itself. So I do help with migrations with accountants and bookkeepers. I do also assist with app integrations. In some cases, those who know that I actually have my own practice, we would talk then on, hey, what's value pricing looks like, what's my branding supposed to be like in the accountant hemisphere, what are certain things that you kind of see are trends, and how can I use those trends to my benefit? So it's really cool to kind of be in this role, because I'm not just an employee. I kind of use the product, and I'm able to kind of just be able to talk to my peers on two different levels: technical support, or and in a consultancy role, and also in the role of being a part of Intuit. So my big thing that we want to kind of just get through here is basically how to accommodate for those conversions that you go through. Our conversion facts that we currently want to make sure that everybody relies upon or it understands is that conversions are most successful with files that are under 360 total targets. And the way to find that is actually pressing the F2 button while you're in the desktop product. Conversions can be done from the desktop product from 2012 release of 7 and upwards. So you don't necessarily all the time have to have the file updated. You can actually do it within those particular products. Conversions for Sage and then these are some of you have a lot of Sage clients. You want to look for Sage 2010, 2015. We are able to actually accommodate that through a third-party company called Odyssey Resources. Right now, we don't currently have a solution for 2016, but I've used QuickBooks Pro, Repair Pro in my practice, and I kind of think that it would be beneficial to you. It is a bit pricey, I'll be totally transparent there, but it is worth it if you want to get your conversions done. Also, with QuickBooks Repair Pro, they do only do a conversion from desktop or from Sage to desktop to QuickBooks Desktop. So it's not a Sage file going straight into QuickBooks Online. It's the Sage file going to the desktop file, and then you do the conversion via the desktop file. Also, another thing we want to kind of stress is just making sure that you are the admin on the desktop file and you are the master admin in the QuickBooks Online file. Also, one thing that I totally forgot to put in here, but I think it is definitely vital, make sure the file is local. A lot of firms and accountants sometimes use servers or networks to accommodate for the file being in another location so that they can just pull from there. It's only beneficial for you to go ahead and have that file local. So if you're on a network, pull that to your desktop, do the conversion, and you should be fine. If you don't have it local, the system will not be able to locate that actual file itself. So that being said, the last bullet point, desktop conversions can now detect and accommodate for multi-currency and for inventory. So you shouldn't have any worries there when it comes to those two feature sets. We can accommodate those right now.
Actually, before you go on, Loni, I just have a question about the inventory, because that actually took me by surprise when I was doing a desktop conversion. And you know, until very recently, we were told that that inventory, it will bring over the, like in your financial statements, the inventory asset value of the inventory, but won't bring over your quantity on hand. And then I did one, and oh my goodness, all my quantity on hand is there. But I don't think because it's so new, I don't think we have best practices on how to do that, because in desktop, the costing method for inventory is your average weighted cost, but in QuickBooks Online, it's FIFO. And so as soon as you if you go to do a conversion for a company file that has inventory in it, and it asks, what do you want your start date to be? And I think it even recommends that it's going to be the first day after your period end or your year end. So that's what I had done, but then it did like an inventory valuation adjustment almost, and actually affected my inventory a lot more than I thought it should have been, just for a costing method change. So do you guys have best practices yet on what date? Like if you use the current date, then it shouldn't affect any costing prior, but does that cause issues? Like, what do you guys have best practices for that yet?
Right now, we're trying to really and truly build it out, because it's to be honest, with conversions, there's no best practices, because everything is different within each books that we get a look at. There's no like template for here's the best conversion, here's the worst conversion. They're all just conversions. And right now we're currently looking at what would be the best practices, and of course we'll be able to filter out that, or provide that to our base and let them know this is what you should possibly look for. We're probably going to be utilizing the Intuit blog to communicate that. So I'd say please really and truly be well versed on the blog and be able to just look at it within your leisure to make sure that you are updated on things like this. So yeah, that's something to come for sure.
Awesome, thanks.
Not a worries. So what I do when it comes to conversions, this is what I do within work and outside of work. I do a 3-tiered conversion process. So we do a pre-conversion assessment and a file prep. We basically just determine what's the best suited file. I'll break that out in the next slide what we deem to be the quote unquote best suitable file for conversion. We also determine the prep work. So what is it that is in this file that may not be able to be converted over successfully? A lot of it ties around the sales tax, and I know a lot of conversations when you see me in person is usually around sales tax and how it's different from the desktop to online. We definitely understand that there's a rhyme and reason for why it's different online, and we definitely want to make sure that you kind of understand that rhyme or reason and be able to just shift a little bit of the habit on getting everything into one ledger. We also determine if an app is needed or needs to accommodate the actual client migration. The reason being because a lot of the feature sets that are currently within QuickBooks Online are general business feature sets. They are not for industry specific or some of the advanced features like job costing, which I understand a lot of people think that should be advanced because of the desktop, but it is advanced within the cloud world, and we kind of just need a better understanding of why that is, so that you can kind of just, again, follow suit on creating a better habit within the online product. And also we determine if there's training needed for your firm or your client. I go through a test conversion, so that's within like a trial account. You can do it within your same shell account that you have for the client, because within 60 days of that account, you're able to do as many conversions, which will wipe out whatever data you have actually inputted in before, and then you'll be able to test out and see how things come over. Another thing that's really good about us being in the now and not the then, and Rachel, you can probably attest to this, is that we now give you line of sight or insight on how the conversion is brought over. So we give you 2 emails, one just telling you congratulations, you've gone ahead and done your conversion. The second one gives the nuance of what the conversion has actually brought over. So we give you a breakdown of the accounts, the customers, and everything from the desktop to online, and then we give you a column for the difference to let you know that there are certain things that weren't brought over, and then we break it out into different worksheets and let you know the individual items or transactions that were not able to come over. So you do get a lot more insight on what's happening with your conversion that way.
Is that for the in-product conversion or for the Odyssey conversion?
That's for the in-product conversion.
Yeah,
so
I definitely think there's been a much more improved communication on that whole conversion process with the end product. That's awesome.
Yeah, because unfortunately you were going blind, converting blind. So we understood we understood that you didn't like that experience, and we wanted to make it a lot more better for you and give you more insights so that you can better engage with your client base on what needs to be done, or advise them, hey, we need to extend this a bit when it comes to implementation just because X, Y, and Z. So another process tying up to our conversion is just the post-conversion. So again, the cleanups that we currently see are a lot surrounding the sales tax, just because, again, there's more flexibility with the desktop. And we then look at app integrations. And again, within the rest of my presentation, I'll just advise you on what we'd look at when it comes to apps and whatnot. So actually, sorry, our pre-migration best practices from desktop to QuickBooks Online, these kind of fall in line with Sage as well, or any other product. You want to verify the amount of targets in the actual file. So on desktop, you want to verify via pressing F2. In other accounting softwares, you want to just verify the amount of transactions. So if there's a transaction list report, you want to find that list. Unfortunately, most of the accounting programs don't actually have a count for each one of those transactions. So I usually just put them or export it into Excel and then do the count in Excel to make sure that I know how many transactions were done for that particular file. On desktop, you want to run a verify data before attempting any conversions. I usually would abide by that. I want you to also verify tax and payroll remittance payments. We try to remove our minimize our sales tax codes from the list items. So if it's a group, it will not be converted over into QuickBooks Online. So you might want to just delete it or remove it. And when it comes to retroactive sales tax, we want you to really and truly try to look at inactivating it or removing it from the system if you haven't gone ahead and utilized any of those retroactive items in any of your transactions. And you can just do an easy quick report to verify if that's so. We also want you to verify the AR and AP reports just to make sure that everything is up to date. I know sometimes your client may not be up to date with their reports, but just wait that extra day or so that they get up to date and then go ahead and try to do the conversion. In the desktop, the administrative revenue, we try to inactivate that as much as possible. So if it's tied to, say, an item, a sales tax item, just removing it from that sales tax item and then making it inactive so that when your sales tax center is brought forth or you're able to go into it, you only have one sales tax agency listed there compared to many different others. And then for QBO, once we do our pre-assessment, we kind of want to go into the company settings and just make sure that we can configure the feature sets to your liking. So some of the things that I kind of do in the advanced location is just make sure that the automation is turned off, especially if you have outstanding credits or outstanding bills on the desktop that should sit there outstanding and shouldn't have anything applied to it. And then we also want to activate the sales tax area so that once you go ahead and do your conversion, sales tax is sitting there, you're able to go in and then look at the numbers appropriately without having to fiddle around with it afterwards. Our post-migration best practices that we have for the desktop, and this would again be something that you want to utilize with other products, other services, or accounting software, is to run the trial balance, the balance sheet, P&L, AR agent, AR or AP agent reports, and just confirm that they reconcile to the desktop. You want to verify the first sales tax filing reconciles with the desktop. So you'll want to look at your history, your historical sales tax, and your first sales tax in QBO, and make sure that they reconcile with the desktop. You also want to make sure that you inactivate any unused sales tax codes, so that when you're making a transaction or your client is making a transaction, it's the appropriate sales tax going forward and not something that was retroactive or something that is no longer in use. You also want to verify unbilled times if necessary. You kind of just go into the weekly timesheet and uncheck them so that they're not listed when you're running an actual bill. They won't be in the right-hand ledger so that it's not added to that particular bill or invoice. You also want to verify your first reconciliation on credit cards and banks. You want to just make sure that the opening balance for that first reconciliation is correct. Just because in some of our actual conversions, we see that the system reconciles as what the desktop has, but if there are any adjustments made after the reconciliation, the system will not pick them up as reconciled items. And then we just want to go into the chart of accounts to just tidy up the chart of accounts, like the things that we see on the desktop, the extra GST or extra sales tax ledgers, we want to make sure that they're no longer there online if you're not going to actually use them for journal entries. And that would be that. So best practices, or actually, if you guys have any questions when it comes to um, those those actual slides, maybe you want to answer those questions,
For
or
the
do you want to?
billable time,
Yeah,
because I've also seen that with billable expenses, where there was a
yeah,
conversion and we brought it through, and basically every expense that had been billed out already looked as if it was unbilled again. So,
right.
and it was like, so what can we do? Is there anything that we can do in the desktop to help prevent that from happening, or is that just going to happen every time you've got billable expenses and time?
We haven't actually honed down to why that is.
Okay.
Our next step is, like, right now we've basically been churning in all these conversions to kind of just get a plan on the page, or an actual insights listing of what we found. And our next thing is to basically just take some time off of doing conversions and seeing what we can actually do to clean up the desktop file before we go ahead and do more conversions. Um,
Right. So
so a
then
lot of it,
sorry, go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Once you've converted then and you've got all of those things, like I've seen, if there aren't very many, sure, you can go in and you can uncheck the billable so that it's not
Available,
going to be
right?
an issue, right?
Yeah,
But I mean, we've had situations where it's hundreds and thousands of them, and
yeah,
so I just said create an invoice with all of these things on it and then delete the invoice. I haven't, I don't really care to do that because you're creating a transaction and then
yeah.
removing it. But
But
what is the best way to deal with that then, if that
no, so
happens?
that's a good one,
Is
because
it?
well, because if you're looking from the desktop to QuickBooks Online, those items are going to always be zero. Like, they're not going to have an actual quantity to it. So you can always make, say, a 1 cent invoice, go ahead and pick up all that information and then write it off as a that
It
1 cent
can't be
happening.
zero?
I wouldn't suggest that it won't
No.
let you save as zero, so I would just make it 1 cent and then write it off
Oh, I
for
think
that
what I
one
had
cent.
done, sorry, I think what I had done is just pulled everything over with the amounts that they were,
Yeah,
and then deleted it. Because that seemed to kind of reset that unbillable.
I would say that
Zero them
that
out?
would work.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so zero them out and just make sure that it doesn't touch anything on the ledger, because it's already accounted for in the desktop, right?
Right. Yeah.
And it's already been brought over into historical information.
Right.
So having a quantity to it and then deleting it, you may look at things being thrown off. So
Okay.
just zeroing it out definitely should
Okay.
work.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
not a problem. Did you want to pick up some of the questions that are asked? I did see.
I didn't actually see any
Yeah.
being asked. Are there any other questions from you guys? We've got the Q&A screen. We've got the chat screen. Jeremy had a question that he emailed in. Jeremy, would you mind just throwing that into the Q&A window again, or maybe I can pull it up on an email? You could probably keep going, Lonnie, until we get that, if
Yeah,
that's okay. Yeah.
totally fine.
Yeah.
So when it comes to best practices for apps, or even what you should do when it comes to apps, I 100% believe in exhausting your accounting software's offerings, utilizing it maybe with the first 5 clients, trying to see what you currently, what would that system has to offer, and then segmenting your actual list. The reason being I do that, or why I feel that's the best holistic manner of doing things, because I really don't feel that you should have an app for every single client. That's going to get you into a lot of these price conversations, and why is my price increasing and whatnot. You can do it. To all of those who have done it, I applaud you. I've just seen that a lot of my clients were then inquire over and over again, why is my price increasing? Why is this happening? When I was able to roll out for the majority of my clients, and then doing the a la carte for the the minority, I found it was more of a holistic feel, because then I was able to build out my internal business model and then roll out new, marketing on that model while I was helping everybody a la carte. Just a thought to put forth to those who are currently in the space that are trying to get well versed with apps. I think that's the best holistic feel that works well within our realm. Since cloud is very new, it seems like there's, again, 200,000 different new apps every day. If you hone down to like your real craft of what you really love doing, and a lot of people have said it, and even my mentor has said it to me over and over again, if you really niche down, Loni, like if you really get to what you really love to do in accounting or in bookkeeping, you're really going to marinate in the right apps for that love, and then you're able to assist everybody else a la carte. So that's just a thought that I think needs to be brought forth. With integration for apps, it's not that hard. Really going to apps.com and utilizing that location to allocate an app to an actual file, easiest thing that could possibly happen. I think what usually is the hardest thing is when you're the accountant or bookkeeper and you've been brought into a third-party app's accountant pro or accountant offering, then it might be a little bit trickier on doing the integrations, but that's just because they have their own system, and most of the systems that they currently have are just affiliate links. So you clicking on the affiliate link and then setting up the actual app, the app offering for your client is the best way of doing it. I've seen where the client gets the link and then the client gets out of the actual affiliate page, then goes ahead and creates the software offering for themselves, and it's not tied to my discount. That's where I feel we're not having the right communicate, or we're not getting the right result at the end of the day. So always just taking the white glove approach, I would say, on just clicking on the link yourself, putting in the starting details, and then giving your client the access, just as you do with QBO, would be the best option. And then my last slide are just my picks of apps. Right now, when it comes to payments, I'm like a big Pluto fan. When it comes to accounts receivable or having the automations of receivables and not really having an actual accounts receivable person in a company, I really like Invoice Sherpa. For services, I'm going to go with Vonago and Site to Site. Vonago on the enterprise level, I'm not quite sure if a lot of you have services in enterprise, but I utilize Vonago when it comes to that. When it comes to just small guy, subcontractor, or somebody within construction, Site to Site is my go-to. POSs, I really love how Cake has really taken their time on their POS system. They've put in a lot of time when it comes to their customer service. They're my go-to when it comes to just POSs for small shops or restaurants. When it comes up to pop-up shops, I really love Square. Square, just really accessible. It's really easy to go ahead and put it on your phone and take those transactions right then and there. When I've gone through some of my payroll headaches or pains, I've actually leveraged WagePoint, and they've been lifesavers since day one. E-commerce, I'm really trying out Shopify right now for those who are really, truly just on, my clients who just can't figure out where they want to be when it comes to their websites. So if they don't have a website and they really just want something to kind of just start out of the box, I'll use Shopify. If they currently have a WordPress site, I'll use WooCommerce as the actual alternative to Shopify in the e-commerce atmosphere. When it comes to inventory, love their inventory. They are my go-to when it comes to inventory. Just simple inventory. If we're talking about desktop, they would be the Pro and the Premier version of inventory. And then when it comes to enterprise, you want to use Unleash. I just feel like they have a better way to accommodate a larger list and locations and do all of the price levels appropriately without a hiccup. Project management, Maven Link is my go-to. I actually use it as my practice's CRM and project layout. I don't use any other product. I actually use that as how I engage with my clients and see what we currently have rolling out for future. When it comes to reporting, Crunchboard, I've utilized them with another online product. They're now in the the QBO atmosphere, and they are doing really great in the reporting. You kind of get like like Spotlight, if you've ever seen Spotlight before, where you have the different dashboards. They're my go-to when it comes to just making things nice and pretty and nice and neat and on the fly. Live Plan, I utilize them when it comes to just more engagement on building better habits with my client base. So if somebody comes to me and tells me that they want to buy a car or they're looking to do this type of investment, I can actually put that information into Life Plan and then be able to tell them if it's a good idea or not, what your cash flow looks like, what are other they're going to be building out what other industries are going to be doing. So they're going to be building out a benchmark option, which I feel no other product kind of is on that roadmap or has a line of sight of that. So I really love them when it comes to that product. Employee timing and tracking. I'm really loving Deputy right now. One of my clients kind of brought it to me, and I've kind of said that will pretty much be my go-to. T-Sheets is always there in the atmosphere. These guys are doing great, amazing things. They've gotten the time in. They're now added on a scheduling portion of their app, which is just amazing to see that you can have that within the mobile atmosphere. And then when it comes to backups, we've always had this. Unfortunately, a lot of people have not noticed or even taken into the or have a line of sight of this, but Safety Net by Jobber is a backup tool. The only thing that it does not actually accommodate for is for sales tax, but it does take it takes like shots of what the data looked like at one period of time, and then you're able to roll back to that particular shot that you're taking, and it's housed on Jobber's their server and not housed in our product. So you'd have to use their product to bring back that information, but it's been a lifesaver when it comes to a lot of the daily entries. If you're not doing a lot of the automation with the bank feeds, you'd want to use Safety Net when it comes to backing up your information.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Everyone always asks me what I recommend for different apps, and I think I've got pretty much the same ones, close anyway, but there are several that are a lot alike, and some of these have been FischBooks Fridays. In the past, we've already had Jobber and T-Sheets, for example.
Yeah.
And then we've got some more FischBooks Fridays coming up that have some of these apps in there too, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do, we're just a tiny little bit over. I'm just going to introduce you guys, give you a bit of a preview of what's coming up for next week's FischBooks Friday. And then if you're okay with that, Loni, we'll just hang out for a couple minutes answering questions. And then for those of you who want to stay behind and answer some questions, I know that was a lot of information. We probably could do a FischBooks Friday Part 2 with Loni and really kind of deep dive into some of these other elements as well. But I just wanted to give you guys a preview of next week. Next week's FischBooks Friday is HubDoc. There's been a lot of talk this week. They launched their tax link, and so several of us ProAdvisors have been testing that for a little while now, and so this is our chance to really grill the Jamies on the functionality and things like that. I'll also talk about how to use HubDoc as a standalone, so even if you're not syncing it with QuickBooks Online, whatever accounting program you're using, it can be used on its own. And the really fun thing about next week's session is that I'm actually going to be at HubDoc in Toronto, and so yeah, hopefully we'll grab, maybe Yusuf will jump in on there too. So if you guys can join us for that. The time is a little bit different. We're going to be doing 1 o'clock Eastern Time, noon Central, 11 Mountain Time Pacific. You guys can do the math from there. So thank you guys so much for attending today. I'm going to stop the recording, but we can hang out and chat for a little bit if you guys have any other questions. Thank you guys so much for attending, and I hope to see you again soon.